If you're looking for a V8 powered luxury coupe from Mercedes-Benz, unfortunately, you're out of luck. The CL55 and the S63 coupes are no longer in production. The C63 is going to have a hybrid 4-cylinder, and to me it's more of a sports coupe rather than a luxury coupe. Same thing with the AMG GT, sports coupe rather than a luxury coupe. So all that you're left off with is the E53 AMG Coupe. But while this doesn't have a V8 under the hood, it has a very nice inline-6, one of my favorite engines. So let's go for a drive and I'll try to explain to you why I like this engine so much. So this inline-6 that's under the hood is a 3-liter turbocharged engine. It also has a little bit of help from an electric supercharger and an integrated electric motor. The total system output is 429 horsepower and 384 pound-feet of torque. Mercedes-Benz claims a 0 to 100 km/h time of 4.4 seconds. Not bad for something that weighs about as much as a mid-size 3-row SUV. The electric supercharger helps the turbocharger provide it with extra air until the turbocharger reaches its correct boost threshold. As well, the electric motor provides an additional 21 horsepower and 184 pound-feet of torque for the engine. And that's mainly when you're just accelerating from a stop or just until the turbocharger again reaches its proper boost threshold. With both of these electric assists, this is a very responsive inline-6 engine, and it's also very, very smooth. When you're just driving around town or on a highway in comfort mode, the engine is rotating at around 1000 to 1200 RPMs. And even at that low of an RPM range, it's still really, really smooth. It's almost as though the E53 is electric. You do not feel the vibrations from this engine. But of course, one of the biggest benefits to having this 48-volt mild hybrid system is with fuel economy. No, you cannot drive this car just on electricity alone. But the EQ boost turns off the engine when you arrive at a stop. Well, actually it does it momentarily before you come to a complete stop. As well, on the non-AMG models, there is an Eco Drive mode. This shuts off the engine when you're coasting down a road or on a highway for brief periods. Of course, it will immediately turn the engine back on once you touch the throttle pedal or apply enough brake pressure. Unfortunately, the AMG cars don't get this mode, but even so, the E53 AMG Coupe is rated for 11.2 liters per 100 kilometers in a city and 8.5 liters per 100 kilometers on a highway. During my time with the car, I managed to average 10.2 liters per 100 kilometers. Shifting gears is a 9-speed automatic transmission. In comfort mode, it's pretty much forgettable as the shifts are buttery smooth. But you really notice those shifts once you switch the car to Sport Plus or Race mode. However, I think that was intentional by the engineers to add to the excitement. Speaking of excitement, the Mercedes E53 AMG Coupe is a pretty fun car on a winding road. I'm not saying that it's more enjoyable to drive than a proper sports car like a V8 powered Mercedes C63 or a BMW M4, but steering weight and feel is good for something this heavy. Also, because it has a 4MATIC Plus all-wheel drive system, it can go sideways through the corners. If optioned with the AMG track package, the E53 comes equipped with drift mode. To get it into that mode, you first have to put it into race mode, then select manual shifting, then completely turn off traction and stability control by holding onto the button for a few seconds, then pull up on both shift pedals at the same time, at which point a message will pop up asking you if you want to confirm entering into drift mode. Pull on the upshift pedal to confirm, and then you can slide your E53 AMG sideways to your heart's content, or until the rear tires blow up. Starting things off with the ride comfort, even though the E53 AMG Coupe does have air suspension, it's tuned to be a little bit more firm than the non-AMG models. That's to be expected, really. However, in comfort mode, I'm not saying that it's a completely unbearable driving experience. You can still use the E53 AMG Coupe to commute to work and still be comfortable when you arrive at work, or vice versa when you arrive at home. As for noises, there is some road noise coming from the tires at highway speeds. However, this particular vehicle is on winter tires. The other type of noise that intrudes into the cabin that you don't really want is a little bit of wind noise from around here where the B-pillar would have been. But the one noise that you do want intruding into the cabin is the engine noise. And when you're just cruising around town, you don't really hear it. But as soon as you put it into Sport or Sport Plus modes, or you just open up the exhaust, you really do hear it. And it's a pretty good sounding engine as well. Now let's take a look at the inside of the E53 AMG Coupe, and starting with space, I'm 6'4" and I have plenty of it in my driving position. Plenty of legroom, and I can even move the seat further back if I really wanted to. Headroom is also pretty good, but the seat is lowered all the way at the bottom. However, the E53 Coupe actually has more headroom than the BMW M850i and the Lexus LC500. As for the rest of the interior, it looks pretty much the same as it did back when this generation of the E-Class was first introduced. However, there are a few differences. One of the biggest being the new infotainment system. It's now the MBUX infotainment. However, it's the first generation, not the second generation that was introduced with the new S-Class. You can check out that video up here if you're interested. But this new MBUX infotainment system is pretty easy to use, especially once you start fiddling around with all the menus and sub-menus. You can control it by the touchscreen itself or by a new touch pad. The previous command infotainment system had a rotary knob. Also, you can try to control this new infotainment system by the capacitive touch buttons on the steering wheel. I say try because sometimes when I, let's say, swipe left, it'll think that I'm actually trying to swipe downwards. These are just way too finicky. I much prefer last year's model with individual buttons on the steering wheel. These ones, they're just too much of a distraction, especially when you're driving. However, apart from that, like I said, not much else has changed in this interior. You still get that really nice ambient lighting at night, the rotary air vents, physical climate controls, and you obviously still get to choose what type of interior trim you want. This particular one has the carbon fiber trim, so carbon fiber here on the center console, across the dashboard, and a little bit on the door panels. Getting into the back seats is fairly straightforward. Just pull on the tab on the top of the front seats and then wait until it slides forward. And maybe wait some more. But once it is all the way in the front, there's a pretty sizable pass-through into the back. There are only 2 seats, not 3, and I was quite surprised at how much space there actually is behind my driving position. Of course, my knees are a bit squished and headroom is pretty much non-existent unless you slouch, but for a short 15 or 20 minute trip, I don't mind sitting in the back. The trunk is fairly large at 405 liters, but the opening is on the small side. You can also fold the rear seats down 40-20-40 for more space. This 2021 Mercedes-Benz E53 AMG Coupe 4MATIC Plus has a starting price of $90,900 Canadian. The 2022 model year received a slight price increase of $2,800 Canadian. And then you arrive at the options list, and that's where things can get expensive. Now, I know that there's a difference between the Canadian spec and the American spec E53, so I'm just going to list off the Canadian packages and standalone options and Canadian pricing, just so you get an idea of how much more money you can spend into this car. First and foremost, there's the premium package, and I highly recommend that one for $6,000 because it has a lot of goodies in it. Then there's also the exclusive package, which gives you the soft closed doors and the fragrance system and the climate control. That's $1,500. AMG carbon fiber package, $2,500. Carbon fiber interior, $2,500. If you want red seat belts, $250. Head-up display, $1,500. Burmeister audio system, $6,900 Canadian. Wow. Air scarf, $600. Illuminated door sills, $250. Built-in dash cam, $300. Intelligent drive package, $2,700. AMG track package, $900. AMG driver's package, $1,900. Power rear sunshade, and finally 3-zone climate control, $850. That's about $30,000 worth of extra packages and options, and I haven't even touched upon the paint, the wheels, and the interior upholstery. Plus, on top of all that, you still have to pay freight, PDI, taxes, dealership markup, and whatever other BS fees that dealerships like to tack on these days to cars like these ones. But like I said, the only package that you really need on your E53 AMG Coupe is the premium package. It adds keyless go, power operated trunk, heated armrests, ventilated front seats, 360 cameras, active multi-beam LED headlights, and multi-contour front seats with massage feature. As for exterior styling, it receives the latest design language from other Mercedes vehicles, such as the redesigned headlights and the new Panamericana grille. The rear remains pretty much unchanged, which is a good thing because it's my favorite view of the exterior. Also, blind zones are pretty much non-existent because there is no thick B-pillar to obstruct your view. With the windows rolled down and the sunroof open, it feels almost as though you're in a convertible. In the end, while this E53 AMG Coupe does not have a V8 under the hood, it still does what a luxury coupe is supposed to do. It provides a comfortable interior for the occupants, it looks very stylish, and it has more than enough power under the hood. And you can almost call this one a bit of a bargain because the Lexus LC500 costs $10,000 more than this, and the BMW M850i is a whopping $25,000 more expensive than this E53. Those are starting prices and in Canadian currency. So if you are on the market for something like this, do check this one out and take it for a test drive. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised. And if you want to know more about this Mercedes-Benz E53 AMG Coupe, I wrote a more detailed review of it over on my website. You can find that link in the video description or click the pop-up banner up here. And as always, I will see you in the next car or truck, or most likely, it'll probably be an SUV. Anyway, thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe, and see you in the next video.